and excites me. Does that resonate with people? Do you get about, okay, like they're gonna like just right now think of one thing that really excites them? I want to see the energy in the room shift. If you could do anything right now on your job, or I mean, what would be something that would excite you? Who wants to share? Yes.
Something that makes changes the world, like Blake from Tom's Shoes.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Like that's my main for.
Yeah, right. Did you go to the social entrepreneur thing today? Wasn't there?
That's the next session.
Oh, is it? Okay, great. There you go. Yeah, yeah. When I worked at Apple, it was like in the mid-80s or early 90s. I mean, all of us were just like right out of college, and we were changing the world. And you know, they're still doing it today, right? But it wasn't like a job; it was just like a mission. Okay, who else is excited about something?
I was talking to you about it earlier before the session in the lobby about helping one person,
right?
You know, make a whole perspective change was exciting for me.
Yeah.
And so that's something that I can see myself becoming an addict for, is doing that for people, one person at a time.
Right.
Helping them find their pattern of success, because a lot of them the people that I work with have a lot of failures. And so it looks like they need to just start developing a pattern of success so they can get that confidence they need to do some productive things.
Great.
So.
Yes. I think for me it would be like working hard at something and spending your time, and then once it's completed, people still talking about it and still giving you those congratulations.
Great.
Not that you need other people's, insights, but it always helps. Not that I just needed it to know it was good, but just it helps, and it's a good feeling. It makes you want to keep doing more.
Yeah, I mean, egos are a good thing.
Yeah.
No, really. And I think as women we're kind of told that they're not. And an unbridled ego doesn't really help you, but you really need your ego to be successful, right? Yeah.
And also thank you for including kindness. That's like the most refreshing thing I heard today. Or in all these conferences, because people can talk about it. And that is exactly what excites me too, kindness and getting the job done at the same time. How do you balance that perfectly?
Well, yeah, those are good questions. Yeah.
I think what also excites me is just working with other passionate and intelligent people. I love my job today. I work at Salesforce.com, and we have a foundation, and we volunteer time with each other, and we have fun with each other at work as well as outside.
Great. You know what? Life is too short not to surround yourself by high-quality people. Right? Really. Be a high-quality person yourself, and surround yourself with high-quality people. Yeah.
I like things that break barriers, and somebody says there's no way that can be done. Absolutely not. You're crazy to think that, and then doing it really well. I really like kind of sort of challenging my own assumptions and the assumptions of people around me, and making something happen that kind of shouldn't otherwise happen, just by the sheer will of it or whatever, kind of, creating something.
Great. So for me, when you put together transformation, intellectual challenge, and kindness, then you can kind of weave through my life in the last 20 years and see, again, it was never around chasing a job title, but it was about creating a life that really embraced us. And it wasn't like, it took me a while to figure this out, right? It took me a while to figure this out, but I was inquisitive and I was curious about it. So really it started here as a mom. About 20 years ago I had not about 20 years ago I had a daughter. And about the same time I became interested in this whole, it's got to be more to life, and oh my gosh, I need to be a great mom, and I'm going to do that, and I'm working, and I'm married, and all those things. And that's what started me off on this path of personal transformation. And so I studied it. I actually did some master's level program of the Ford Institute of Integrative Coaching. I didn't do it to become a coach. I did it for my own personal development. And it's a path that I started going down. And I did it strictly for my own personal development. And what I found is the things that I've learned on that personal journey are some of the skills that have made me most successful in my career. So I'm a management consultant now. I've been in Silicon Valley 25 years. I've worked for those companies. I was educated at Brooklyn, Missouri, and have a bachelor's degree in math. I did my MBA at Clara. And so I used the icons that were relevant at the time I worked for the company. Just to give you a little perspective, right? So the important part of this is that as I did this personal growth, what I learned really has helped me in my career as much as it has in my personal life. And one of the things, one of the best lessons I learned was how important it was to reinvent yourself. So, you see those numbers? Oh, there we go. 28, 25, 12. That's what I call my reinvention statistic. Any guesses what those three numbers are?
12 is the number of jobs, right? You said? Dozen companies.
12 is the number of companies. That's right. Not the number of jobs. I actually should add that. Because I worked at Apple for 10 years and I had a bunch of different jobs. It was like, so 28 is the number of years I've been in the technology industry. 25 is the number of bosses I've had. 12 is the number of companies I work for. And that doesn't include 3 companies I've started. So, I didn't count myself as a boss, right? So, I had to learn how to reinvent myself just through organizational swirl that goes on in corporate America, right? So I think that's a great statistic. And now as a consultant, my career right now is to help technologies companies transform their product development process and their organizations to the next level of success. We don't go in and help them fix little problems. We go in because they missed the holiday launch of their consumer product. We go in because they shipped the wrong product and the VP of development's already hit the fire, right? We go because things have changed. And acquisitions happen and you're bringing several companies or a few companies together and they've got different processes and everyone's running, kind of their own thing and they need to work together. Those are the kind of problems we solve, transformational problems. So the things that excite me the most, I've created a career around. It's a little bit backwards than what some people do, but it's worked. I'm happy with it. Okay, powerful attitudes. I think it's really important. How many people think they have great, powerful attitudes? Nice, nice. Okay, tell me some. I want to hear them. Go.
I always have a positive mindset. So even if I feel like I'm going down, I just remind myself I'm healthy, I'm alive, and I can do this. And I just
good job. Good job.
One thing I try to do a lot, and sorry, I can't see everybody, but
stand up.
Okay, I'll stand up.
We want to see you.
Little Jeannie. Yeah. One thing I try to do is try to create what I can't even imagine today, tomorrow.
Great.
And I think a lot of people get trapped in routine, and we build these walls around ourselves, and they can be our job, our debt, that fight we had the other day with somebody, and we get narrow vision.
That's
so
right.
I try not to live in walls.
Great. Good for you.
And I like talking in front of people. So
well, the session's not over yet. Who else? Yep.
I think for me is I like to try to put myself in the head of the person I'm talking to, when especially in a negative situation, to see where they might be coming from and see how I can make a positive spin on the conversation, because I find that a lot of times the language people use causes negativity.
Yep.
And I don't think that's what they mean. And I usually try to play it back to them what I heard and try to get to the root cause of the problem. And sometimes it works so well it changes their perspective on what they came in to talk to me about. It's kind of like I'm a psychiatrist. And, especially with the people that work for me, is that I try to get them in the right, because we're in a customer service type of role.
Yeah.
I can't have them going out there with a bad attitude, because that means I'm going to get a call later because that person had a bad attitude. So it's usually I try to help them change the presentation of what they're trying to say.
Right.
Because one thing I learned from my father is the presentation, not the content of what you're trying to say. How you present things to people is going to determine how they receive it.
That's right.
And so that's something that I focus on a lot with my team, is figuring out how to say things in a way where you're delivering the message you want, but in a way that's receptive.
That's right. Good for you.
Yeah.
They say like body language is 80% of the message, right? Mm-hmm. I took this great class, little segue, I took this great class at Stanford last quarter, continuing education. Anybody ever do that? Oh my God, it's fabulous. I could, take a dozen classes if I had time. I'm a lifelong learner though, so that's one of my things. But I took this class on doing visual presentations and the power of pictures and the power of words and people's retention. And it's really amazing. It's really amazing how visual versus sight and verbal versus nonverbal communication, how people process, that's a whole different presentation. But your point is well taken. You really have to be clued in to how people respond to you, have a certain level of emotional intelligence, and that's a great way to frame up a relationship or fix a problem or diffuse a problem. Well, I came up with a few powerful attitudes too that I've learned over the years, and these are some of the ones I think that have helped me most. The first one is successful people will always have choices, plural. You all know that about yourselves, right? Not everyone's nodding. It's really important to know that about yourself. Successful people will always have choices. And here's why it's important. If you don't know that, then you have a much higher tendency to allow yourself to be pulled into somebody else's story and somebody else's plan. So if you know that you have choices and you're going to become very deliberate about what excites you and who you want to be in the world and how you want to contribute, you're going to see all these choices go by you and you're going to get snagged by one. And you're like, oh, wait a minute, that doesn't fit with what I want to do. And you're going to be able to let it go because you know there's just another choice on its way. It's amazing how many people don't know that about themselves. When my daughter was applying to colleges, she was like, oh my God, I don't know if I'm going to get in. It's like, okay, I think you're going to get in. But the issue is not are you going to get accepted, is you are going to get accepted multiple places, and your job is to make the most powerful choice you can at the time. A lot of people, when they're scared of a lot of choice because they get paralyzed. Does anybody have that problem? It's like, oh my God, I've got to decide all these things. And yeah. And so your job as a successful person is to learn how to make decisions quickly. And if you make the wrong decision, go back and fix it. Don't allow yourself to be paralyzed because you're overwhelmed by choice or because you don't think there's going to be enough. Successful people always have choices. I was looking for a little icon for that, and it was like the only one I could find is, there's a clip art out there where there's all these arrows going in different directions, and then the person in the picture is either going, or, and it's like, that's not the message, right? It's not confusing. It doesn't have to be confusing. Successful people always have choices. Remember that about yourself. It will keep you out of a lot of angst and anxiety. And know that if you have the ability to make decisions, you're going to be making a lot of decisions, and some of them aren't going to be so great. So you just go back and make a different decision. Right? Feeding your creativity will fuel your excitement. I just can't tell you how important it is to find what your creative outlet is and to make time for it. I said I was like, yeah, in my 28th hour of the day, but really it's an engine. And creativity is where you do your best thinking. And it's where you get in touch with really what's exciting for you. And the better you get at it, the easier it's going to get. I don't have to modulate who I am. Oh, Lord, this one took me forever to learn. I was telling people at lunch, what I mean by that is fitting into somebody else's idea of who you should be. So I grew up in the Midwest, very conservative, kind of got launched into the world of here's how you're supposed to be in the world. And it just didn't work for me. But I keep going back to this is how I should behave, this is what I should do, and here's my rotation of choices. Once I was able to break through with that and really learn that you don't have to modulate who you are. You need to be, it's kindness. So I just write kindness on there. But you see, I still have the urge to oh my God, the MBAs are going to laugh at me if I put kindness on the slide. But in fact, nobody laughed, right? But that's part of, you don't have to modulate who you are because whatever's true for you is true. And if you don't do that, if you don't modulate, then you'll find out that you're going to land in much more rewarding places. It's easier said than done. Yeah.